and and doing the kind of work that we do, resilience is so important because there's so much challenges that we all face. But then the question comes, how do we help each other achieve resilience? Because when I was practicing with Jay, quite a lot of work, and a lot of times we actually, because we didn't have another job, I mean, now I see that quite a lot of you actually have another job to support yourself so that you can continue doing this work. But Jay and I, we did this work full time. So we really depended on funding from foundations or from councils or from sometimes certain institutions would commission us to do a project, a 3-month project, working with a certain community. Sometimes it's a town council that commissions us to do the project. So I didn't feel resilient at all in those kind of situations. I felt very much that you are expected to deliver a certain outcome, and even our interactions with the communities that we work with. For example, in Dublin, we were working with travelers community who are very, very marginalized, and it's actually the town council that oversees them, you know, who engage us, but they have their own agenda in mind when they engage us, and we had a very different agenda going in to work with the community. So I didn't feel that I had independence or resilience. So that's one thing that I want to bring up for discussion. How do we actually help each other, you know, in this current landscape, you know, to have resilience and independence? Maybe I would just go with that point first, because I think if you look at my document, I have a few more other points, but I think let's just open that up and see, you know, maybe Eileen has something to say as well. Yeah, thank you.
Shall I jump in, or would you like?
Yes, Eileen, please jump in.
Okay. Yes. I wanted to pick up some points specifically from Dominique's presentation. Maybe requesting just a little bit more elaboration on the point of how artists look at their work being devalued in a sense when they're lined up against cultural work. And then secondly, maybe we could also do a little bit more discussion on how we a certain value, because there's been a lot said so far about the work being very contextual, but how do you in your projects and platforms deal with the idea or notion of efficacy or impact, because these are terms that even in the development world have been kind of problematized because of how they're associated with having to deal with concrete outcomes when the work itself is very process based. So maybe just those 2 points for now.
Anyone like to respond? Any of the presenters, would you like to respond? Hi, Susie, you just joined us. Did you hear the questions? Okay.
Maybe I can try first, okay?
Okay.
I will use Mandarin first. Maybe Chu Yuan can help me to translate.
I will try,
Okay.
but you have to pause, okay, so that I can translate.
Okay, sure. Okay. 我把 resilience 翻译成为耐力或者韧性吧，然后 independence 当然就是那个独立的部分。我觉得要达到这两个条件的话，可能就是首先我们应该需要有很清楚的方向，还有目标。为什么我们自己做这件事情？ 对我自己来讲，就是我做这个事情，是因为我自己对地方历史还有这个多元文化的一个热爱，所以我就能够长期的投入在这个事情里面。
Okay, pause. So Kang is saying that he interprets resilience as a kind of perseverance. 韧性 is perseverance, right? You keep on doing something, you don't give up, right? So yeah, independence is basically being able to carry on the work on your own. And for him, in order to be able to achieve these two qualities, you need to have a very clear direction, clear idea of what is your direction and your objective. And for him, it's because he's got this passion and love for local history and placemaking, local culture. So therefore, he can continue doing this work. Yes, Kang?
至于独立的部分，就像你刚刚讲的，就是我们如果要达到独立的话，就不能够太依赖单一的一个资金来源，所以我们其实都是有自己的工作，然后用一个业余的时间来去维持。就像 Irene 一样，我用的也是自己居住的空间作为我的活动空间，我觉得这个是一个减低成本的一个方法。
Okay, so in order to be independent, also we cannot really rely too much on a sponsor or funder. So as I've mentioned just now, in order to keep on doing this, that we need to have another job that pays, so that we can do this. And like Irene, he also uses his home as a activity space. So that's a way of cutting expenses.
然后当然就是我自己尝试的一个方法，就是维持一个很低的日常消费，然后让我能够有更大的自由去做我想要做的一些活动。
And another thing that he practices is to keep his daily expenses very low, so that he has enough resources for him to do his activities. Thanks, Kang.
You're welcome.
Susie, basically I was asking what do we think are the preconditions for us to achieve resilience and independence in the work that we do? And Eileen was picking up on something that I had written in my letter. Actually, I sent a letter to everyone. I'm not sure whether you all had a chance to read it, because basically she picked up on the point that Dominique's presentation, she was saying that, artists, when they identify or when they do this kind of work, they sort of, the work is not valued in the same way as when you're doing work, in the gallery space. So she's asking, how do we assign value to work that's largely contextual? And how do each of you, evaluate what your impact is? Would anyone like to try to answer?
If I may jump in here. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. I think I've chosen to ignore that artists see their work devalued when it's in the cultural context, because I believe that if we want to change attitudes, it's about an attitude, a value judgment. And not everyone, but some artists are not reflecting our professional value systems. That's the problem, no? If we are within certain artist peer groups, judgment comes. What is accepted as a work, what not, and depending a bit on the opinion makers and the group, it's a bit different. And I think more and more artists become self-reflective of that. And there are a lot of people have already said this, that I think we just have to ignore these kind of attitudes. So what I wanted to show is that I'm also facing these dynamics, but I'm trying to meet them by focusing on the ones who join in, who don't have these issues. And I'm convinced that through time, others will be able to join when they maybe start to view that they could maybe question their value systems, or then you have a lot of opportunists as well. They anyway jump on the train if it's running.
Maybe I can follow up that question about, yeah, how do you sort out that when you find out about the opportunistic streak midstream? I mean, they register as rather earnest at the beginning, and then somewhere along the way you realize they don't share the vision.
Eileen, are you addressing it to a particular person?
Just to follow up on what Dominique was saying already.
Dominique, have you ever experienced such a situation?
Yes, I'm sorry. Would you? I was listening, but I didn't take it as a question. So now I don't know what to respond to. Would you mind
Okay.
to tell me again, please?
Sure. Sometimes at the onset of the project, it seems like you're on the same page, but then as the work progresses and, a little more investment of the self is asked of the participants, then you realize that someone is actually not sharing the vision, or maybe in fact opportunistic. So how do you deal with that situation?
There are maybe two aspects that I would like to share. One is with project, I think I'm focusing on establishing a space where we have interests collaborating. I'm not expecting that everyone joining in has the same objectives or wants to achieve the same. It's more like where can our forces come together so we each of us can get something out of it that we are interested in. And the other thing is a huge question that I actually am very interested to hear from you, how you're dealing with that. I think it's so difficult how can you, with being a few people together, how can you share workload? How can you keep spirits up? How can you keep it going? Yeah, I think sometimes it works well, sometimes, and then there are times where it's really tough. I'm really happy to know and learn from you all how you are dealing with this situation.
Yeah, I think that also comes to the one point that I raised, which is that we all need a support structure, and where do we find our support structure? Who do we find it in? Because a lot of times also our collaborators, let's say especially if we're working with communities of need and in need, a lot of times you cannot find that support from them, or certain kinds of support you can find from them, and certain ones you can't. So then who do we turn to, to get that support? It could be emotional support more than anything else, actually, or professional, advice.
Kang, I'm curious to hear, how are you dealing with that?
Sorry, who?
Kang?
Kang.
OK，
Join the discussion.
我这边相对简单，因为我这边其实它没有牵涉到很多的利益，就是你参与这个社区的工作，你既不能得到很多的名气，然后你也不能得到很多的经济的酬报，所以我们就不会有很多的所谓的机会主义者会利用这些活动来去提高自己的名声，或者去 得到一些利益。Yeah, maybe I pause for you to translate.
所以我们就
You were frozen for a while.
Sorry?
You were frozen for a while.
Okay.
I translate what I caught, yeah. So basically,
Okay.
Kang is saying that as far as his work goes, it's pretty simple because there's not much benefits that people can get from the work. I mean, sort of like personal benefit. Is that a correct translation, Kang? Because basically you don't get fame and there's not much monetary kind of remuneration that you get. Yeah.
所以就不会有机会主义者，他们会想要
So
加入。
there won't be much opportunists who come in, you know, to try and jump on the wagon. Yeah.
当然，我们跟社区的一些朋友，或者是一些政党的基层组织，或者是一些 NGO，他们合作的时候，大家还是会有一些方法或者是一些理念的一些差异。可能他们会在某些时候，可能有的群体他们会比较想更快的看到成果。不过我觉得都可以靠那个沟通来去解决问题。当然，我也同意 Dominique 讲的，就是其实我们也不要求大家都是完完全全都是一样的，然后我们其实可以包容不同的意见。
Okay, so of course there are instances when he does work with the people, community organizations on the ground or NGOs, and there would be some differences in terms of ideas because they may wish to achieve fast results. They want, you know, some quick to see some quick changes or results, but basically, Kang believes that it can be solved through communication. And he also agrees with Dominique that he doesn't need everybody to have the same ideas or to be, you know, have the same objectives in order to come together to work. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to join in on this discussion. There is a complex issue. First, depends on the people who you're working with, and also the culture you're working with. For example, when I work in a culture where we can openly discuss everything, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of difference can be already recognized from the beginning. And when you know we are standing on different positions in the beginning, but we still want to work together, there is a kind of support, a kind of compassion, mutual understanding, and it works well in this way. But in places, mostly in South Asia, where you cannot critically question, or when you, like Susie working with migrant group, you cannot put up critical question in the beginning where you are just strangers to each other or acquaintance to each other. So later, when the issue comes, it create a lot of problem. So for me, like if I take Kang project and look at it, he's interested in placemaking, he's interested in this. They are all objective orientated. But you should also understanding because you are working with different people together when the objectives are common, but the personality are not common. So how do you do that? Because referring to the decolonial term, the very shallow solution that come out is include diversity, include heritage, property, but it doesn't mean that heritage properties are all good. because of them, a lot of heritage, cultural practice are actually very against its gender problem, have gender issue, because they are patriarchal. Female in the society are relegated into very minor position. And diversity, if you talk about diversity in this sense, then what happens? Someone come in with a very radical and aggressive. If you just accept diversity, you also have to accept that position. But if these are discussed from the beginning, it says diversity we accept, but certain position we have to disagree. It doesn't work. So for me is that the objective-oriented process, everybody want to see a quick result, should be accompanied or to be parallelly run with a process where we discuss critically. So you can go very fast and create some goal project and do something so that that's not just talking about it, but at the same time, you have a program, a structure where you say every 2 weeks we have a critical discussion on issue, political issue, social issue, so that these two processes run parallel. Because only through this discussion on critical issue that we understand each other and create a kind of affinity to each other position and respect each other. Otherwise, everybody just want to do. And for me personally, I have done so many projects. If I work with an individual, I will say I work with the person for 2 years and have a look. How does these 2 years I listen to the person, I work with the person and try to have argument with the person, disagreement person. But after 2 years, I will have to make a decision whether I stop or I continue. Because I cannot continue all the time because there are other objects coming in, object-based work. So that I work with different people in different countries. So sometimes you can recognize an individual can only go to a certain extent. If the individual does not recognize that they have to step over something in order to progress to the next step, then there are a lot of issues with it. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Yes, I do agree that if you're working at a certain level that doesn't step on anybody's boundaries, it may run, quite smoothly. But it's only when certain lines are crossed or certain differences arise, and then you really, I think that's when the really meaningful work starts. How do you learn to really negotiate, listen to each other, and also challenge yourself and challenge your own preconceptions, and how do you reach across to difference? I think that is a real challenge. Yeah. Susie, would you like to say something?
You need to unmute.
I can't hear you. You need to unmute your mic.
Okay. I'm very I go very much with this what Kang has said. So first of all, I think the resilience is something in our personal attitude, how we do the work and why we do the work. Otherwise, we are not and the independence is that we decided to do this kind of work. We can always do something else, or at least at a certain age. Maybe it's getting more difficult if you are getting older. It's more difficult to stop. This in general, but for me, right today, exactly today, I feel very disappointed because I had a bad experience, like yesterday, with my group, according to communication. And I was thinking all night long, how should I go on? I have a feeling I don't really know how to go on. It's very simple. First of all, one says that the whole work is anyway not important. The world is finished. The world is completely finished, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. Okay, everybody has a bad day, but so it is. It's up to me to put them up again. Then it's a rule right now, if we rehearse, that we come with a negative corona test, which is easy to do because you can do it here everywhere. 3 people didn't come with the negative corona test and told me, oh, I don't need it, I'm healthy. I am dependent on the space where I go to. I rely on this. We work together, and I tried to explain that there are certain rules if we want to work together. Otherwise, we cannot do it. And so by this, we got into the question of democracy. And I mean, it is really in a country like Germany, where you can really open your mouth and you have a lot of freedom. You can discuss things. I think the question about democracy, we don't need to do about wearing masks or doing a corona test. This is a wrong idea of freedom. So I tried. I tried to insist that we have to discuss what is freedom for you. Yeah, and these people they come out of countries where they were really partly tortured because they opened their mouths, and here it is impossible to get them wearing a mask. So I had to decide to throw 3 people out, which I regret, because we are working now together since 2 years, and I am thinking, oh, what did I do? But if I don't do it, I also don't feel well. So this is my actual position right now today, and I'm a little bit tense because of this. You know, this is very personal, of course, and this is one thing that is very hard to keep up with your own resilience then. According to go on, if you think, okay, it works and we have this trust with each other, and then all of a sudden happens something like this, which is not necessary to go. It's absolutely not necessary because it's an easy thing. So this is what I can say. And then I want to mention that, unfortunately, I think we are always at the very end of the line if it comes to financial supports. If we apply with a project for something, the ones where we apply also get their money from somebody where they applied. And so we are always very much at the end of the line. And this is, as you mentioned in your text, it just can be very tiring because you have always to keep up and give them quick results, and you have your ideas, and from 10 ideas you maybe get 2 realized, and it goes over a while and it goes over a time, and sometimes this is really difficult. But at the same time, if you have another job, you need the energy for the other job too. I mean, in the beginning of my work, I had sometimes 3 jobs at the same time. So rehearsal in the morning, we are working as a waitress in the afternoon, show in the evening, and then after the show, work at a nightclub, sleep and start again. So you can do this when you are 22 or something like this, or maybe until 30, but not for a lifetime. It's just impossible because you cannot concentrate. So you have to find some kind of resource to make yourself somehow easy, so that way you can live on. And this is in most cases, I also say with I go there with Kang, that you reduce your expenses. And we ask ourselves, what do I need? Okay, there are many things we don't need. Some things we really need, but so this is what independence also is worth. That we maybe don't need many things that nowadays are advertised, or that are said that you have to have it. So far, I don't know if I answered your question, but as I told you, I'm a little bit quickie today because of this yesterday, and I didn't. So
Yeah.
I would like to share something.
Yes, Nora.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susie.
Yeah, like,
Yes, Nora.
yeah. So like in now recent situation in my country, so we all do the resilience.
Sorry, I can't really hear you, Nora.
Speak slowly and louder, please.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I got Apple. Yeah. Sorry, I speak so quick. That's one of my habits. I cannot change. But I will try to speak very slowly. So like recent situation in Myanmar, so we all are doing resistance. So now I am learning, what it look like being the resistant. So that, and then also being the independent, I learned that in my society, in my social cycle, we practice having a girlfriend is very important to be independent, because like a for example, I do the documentary filmmaking, so like finding is really difficult. Also, like we don't have a market in Myanmar, so like we need to help each other. So this is like having a girlfriend, like to support each other, to share your equipment or something like that. So like to be independent is, for me, like it's also really important to have a girlfriend, who can really emotionally support you. So like the more I would like to be independent, the more I need to be resist, because I don't want to be part of the mainstream. So like I would like to be, the more I would like to independent, the more I need to find a way to resist. So that is how I understand about the being independent and resilient. Yeah. So and then like and then it's like because of my culture saturation, it's really hard to speed out something different from what is going on mainstream. So there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of like a recognition. You know, like if you are not doing like a like mainstream award, you know, if you are not win any prize, if you are not like a success, or if you are not travel abroad country, like so it's really for you to resist, you know, what you believe in my community. So like yeah, this is like a some people are doing like a project work, social work, but you know, like it's really difficult to be part of the society, you know. Yeah. So like now like me and I saw some friend, like for example Koso from Tongji, Shan State. So he is I would say that he is the only one contemporary artist in Shan State, you know, like so he's doing what he is keep doing what he believes, but still difficult to be part of this major community, you know, major art scene in, so everything is happening in Yangon, you know, like if you can come to the Yangon, you can be the established artist. So like you can be someone only from if you live in Yangon, so something like that. So in practically like a we you know like a you love to do the social work. You are doing what you believe, but in reality, it's still difficult to resist, you know, what you believe. Yeah.
So, Nora, can I ask you, because my own experience in Myanmar is that it's very difficult for the Myanmar people to work across groups. So you have your own cliques, you know, people you trust, you are very familiar with, you have already formed a very solid relationship with them. So you will only work with them, and it's not easy to go, you know, and work across different groups in society. You know, for example, you can just go to a public space and you try and work with people whom you meet. But I don't know whether with the current situation, because of the resistance movements that are going on in the whole of Myanmar, whether that kind of boundaries have broken a little bit. Is it more possible to just work across groups now?
Like there's a two kind of situation. Yes, you know, like we have a trust problem in our society. We don't trust anyone. We don't trust each other. So like we have a trust issue in like last 10 years, but we slowly bring it, and we slowly, you know, trying to learn, you know, how to work as a group, and you know, something like that. Now when this could happen, you know, again, like we don't trust each other again, but like we can trust now, you know, I work with like some of my new friend, like we became a friend because of this resistance, because we have a common goal, we have a common objective, we would like to win, so we work together. So like we became a small group who have the same ideology, but we are not working with, or like another group that have a different point of view. So actually, we are fighting for democracy, you know, to respect each other, different ideology, because of the situation is so fragile and so sensitive. So now me and my friend work together because of we have the same ideology, same resistance. So like again, like I can answer the yes or no, you know, both answer. Yes, you know, now I have a new friend, you know, I can bring the trust, you know, okay, because of we have a clear common goal. But again, like no, we don't trust each other as well. Yeah. Am I answering your question? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very complex situation.
It's
because, you know, even when we collaborate with other people who we thought support the objectives of democracy and human rights and equal rights, but it turns out also that they will also not support the rights of certain groups. You know, they will support and fight for the right of some groups, but they will not fight for the rights of other people. So
That's true.
yeah, so that,
Like I used to like according like when the Rohingya problem happened in Myanmar, so like we talk a lot about that. Even you know like being a woman, you know we face very oppressed, and you know there's a lot of issue still going around. But even you know like we need to, because of you have that experience, you live with that oppression. You have to understand other people oppression. But what happened is like you only fight for, you know, to get for your right, only for your right, not for other. You know, like this is scary actually. Now, like we have to and learn a lot of things. You know, there's a, you know, like sometimes I don't want to think very deeply. It's made me scared. In the reality, it's so scary. You know, like even we win this revolution, there's a lot of things we have to deal with this. You know, internal. Like last week, you know, I saw one of the posts from the Chen traditional group. You know, one of the designer, he combined, maybe she or he combined the like a longi and like a tamay. Do you know tamay skak? And longi and tamay is like a man wear and a woman wear. He combined the design. So and then like that Chen group released the statement like this designer making our ethnic people to be low standard using woman longi. So this is how they discriminate. You know, like you know, we were so like the more you know, the more you scare. What kind of attitude they come from that war? Because of like they already there's a like a 60 years military government oppressed them, oppress all the people. So that's why we are fighting for it. But why you look down on the woman? So you look down and you know like you are doing the same thing. So it's me, you know. Even if we win this revolution, there's a lot of main outline, you know, very similar leadership will come, you know, for sure. It can, you know, like because of we learn like intellectually, we learn, you know, like a liberal and democracy and blah blah blah. We learn individually. It's good to say, good to talk, good to discuss. In the meeting, you know, it's very beautiful word. In reality, you cannot practice in deep down, you know. So like it's one statement, you know, it's you can see the future, you know, what kind of future you are dealing with this. So it's crazy actually. So like sometimes, you know, like we don't want to just get very deeply, you know, like we just would like to talk very joke, you know, all the time, because of the more you think deeply, you know, the more you're done with this, you know, you're done with this community, you're done with this society, you know. So like we don't have extra life, you know, we have only one life. So why we are wasting our life and energy, you know, for bullshit, you know. That's a, you know, like if you know about Myanmar, there's a lot of unnecessary issue. But
I think, yeah, I think there is that in every society. It may not emerge, but it's always in the underbelly.
yeah,
You know, and one of the things that when I was doing commission projects, and usually is very objective led, you know, they want to achieve a certain objective. And for Jay and me, it's very important that it remain open-ended, because we don't know where it will lead. And I think I very much agree with Jay that the most important test, I think, that we can test ourselves, how resilient we are, maybe even, is how much we are able to be challenged ourselves. So we all have certain unquestioned, you know, bias or views or values that we all hold, whoever we are. Whether we think we're fighting for a just society or progressive society, there are certain things that we take for granted, that we have not questioned about ourselves. It's only when you meet something else that really shake you and make you see that, you know, and then do you then feel threatened, and do you then feel angry and attacked? Or are you really willing to step back and say, hey, yes, you know? So how able are you to open yourself up to be challenged and to be questioned? So that's the basic thing that is very hard to arrive at. I think, like in Susie's case, even though you spent 2 years working with this group of people, the opportunity is very seldom there where you can actually really engage with each other in that way to be open to being attacked. You know, when somebody starts to question you and say, look, you're in Germany now and you need to go for the COVID test because it's a requirement, and you should not, feel offended, when you are being questioned. So that ability to receive questions that are very challenging and threatening to you, I think that for me is a quality of resilience, that you don't get offended, that you don't, start to attack and smash things and say, I don't want to work with you anymore. That is a quality of resilience. That sometimes I feel that even as engaged art workers ourselves, we may not have it, because some artists, they go to a community, they have this mindset, they are doing good. I'm here to do good. I'm here to help you. I want good things. Everybody wants good things. But when you start being challenged, then you feel attacked and you feel, hey, I'm here to do good. Why are you attacking me? That is not resilience. Yeah, that's my viewpoint.
Yeah, I think to be resilient, you need to take a lot of risks. You need to challenge, a lot of things. Because from my experience, we talk like a socially engaged art, or like a working with the children or working with the community. But most of the artists, they create their safe space. It's not really engaging the society because it's too much. If you engage, we don't know. Sometimes a lot of things is out of your control. You don't like it. You cannot control it. So and then sometimes when I work as a project-based, you have a limited time to finish something. You cannot do the project-based, so you have to produce I use like a social engaged project together with children, but this is very much research-based. For example, mural painting, so you control everything. Children just paint. So that's a different kind of. Actually, I still don't have very openly socially engaged practice, because it's too much. Everything is out of your even I take an observation role. It's too much sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, this crisis happened, I'm slowly learning every time, what is the being a resilient, what is the being to resist, how to live freedom from fear, how to resist every day, it's sometimes it's so stressful, but it's so interesting how to deal with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the objectives that we always try to have is to teach critical thinking or critical questioning, that, we feel that once people start to be able to question themselves and others, that's such a good, thing that we achieve. But the funders usually don't want that. The funders don't want you to teach people how to critically question, they want just something good, something good and happy at the end. Yeah. Not a mess, because sometimes you can really just go in and create a mess, and maybe that's what you actually really need. You just need a mess, yeah. Irene, does Irene have something to say?
Oh,
Irene, don't create mess.
yeah, I did many times. I learned from the miss. 我都可能翻譯啊。
Okay.
我點解我係咁現場做一啲work 咧？係我覺得其實係好難。
Sorry, Irene, I cannot really hear you. Maybe you have to come closer a little bit.
Okay. 點解我而家係dependent 咁佢有啲 base 嘅話，我都係覺得group 其實嗰個每個人嘅參與係好。
即係好難頭先好似譬如話平嗰啲 job 啊或者task平均會啊，又或者係每一個人嗰個希望嘅做嘅嘢係喺邊個範圍嘅，其實都係好難溝通嘅。即係其實溝通係好多個 group 嘅障礙咯。
So she feels that actually it's very challenging to really communicate. There's a lot of barriers and hindrance to real communication. It's very hard to expect that people come together to collaborate or participate, have the same, ideas in mind or the same kind of interests, and objectives. Yeah.
咁尤其是我本身唔係 artist 啦，我好中意 art， 咁我亦都好多 artist 去。
Sorry, Jay, can you take over? Sorry.
都好獨立同埋。
Irene said she originally not an artist, but she like a lot of art. So she used this kind of she used this position. So where are you going, Irene?
我想講嗰個嗰個 challenge 啦，其實group 係難嘅，但係 independent 就好似頭先你哋咁，其他方向都聽到你哋都係有多 difficulty 嘅，因為好似阿 Susanne 佢要做好多，咁其實喺個 art 嗰方面可能可以有咁多時間啦。咁本身咧，自己做嘅 work 去 support 自己咧，其實有我係只係用可能一個朝頭早嘅時間已經可以啦。
So Irene, you were cracking up. I could catch a little bit and couldn't catch a bit, but you were saying that all of us are trying to find our way to be independent by working on other things, and for you, it's not so difficult because you can just work, for example, one morning. Is that what you're saying? Like one morning, and you can cover your expenses.
係，因為我本身係我喺Commerce 嗰度過嚟㗎嘛，即係我係香個地方過嚟，咁我本身可以做一啲online 嘅 selling， 即係我係做 consult 嘅，咁我可以 earn 到一啲 living 咧，就已經係夠我每一個月，咁我就到咧，我 example 就係我日做 art 嘅，咁我晏晝同夜晚嘅時間我都會係個 space 或者喺出邊同artist 溝通啊，或者係參與唔同 exhibition 啊，或者係 group discussion 咯。
So because she came from the commercial world, it's not difficult for her to do some online selling, some trading online. So that she does that in the mornings, and in the afternoons and evenings, she would reserve her time to interact with artists and the community. Did I miss out anything, Irene?
少少啦，不但係即係我覺得 independent 咧就好緊要嘅，所以如果你話
because you freeze and there's breaking, I can't really hear clearly what you're saying.
我覺得多啲時間同埋個人係 focus 喺 art 度咧，咁你先至會可以做得好 independent 做嗰樣嘢咯，即係唔可以花太多時間喺嗰個但係又唔可以話攞太多一啲我哋覺得我哋唔應該攞嘅 funding， 所以係其實真係要大家互相幫助 connect 之後，睇下有咩範疇做到多少少嘅範圍幫到大家啦。但係呢個係好難都，但係可以嘗試咯。聽唔聽到啊？
Yeah. So in order to be doing this work, we do need to spend a substantial amount of time in order to devote to our work for it to be independent, to make it independent. But we all can benefit from helping each other out. So to need to see how we can all work together to achieve this together. Sorry, Irene, I don't think I'm translating very well, but 大概係咁嘅意思, I think. It's just her broad, what she Kang or Jay, are you able to hear more clearly?
Irene, can you put your phone nearer to you? Your phone is too far.
But my face will be very large. That's why I don't focus.
Yeah, never mind. Kang head is larger. Why worry about a large head? I have a question for Irene.
唔係啊，其實咧，我想講多少少嘅。咁
OK， 講啦。
我個 group 嘅 experience 咧，其實咧咁多次咧，都係唔係3分鐘熱度嘅，都係每一個 group 我有4個 group 都一齊嘅。咁但係每個 group 咧都唔會 last 都好耐嘅，因為始終每個人咧嗰個成長個思想都有少少改變嘅，咁就會令嗰個 group 咧所有人嗰個teamwork 或者係個 mindset 唔可以一致，所以 group 係好難做嘅。
Translation.
So
okay, I do.
From her experience, okay.
She worked parallel with about 4 groups, and she already expect that they don't last long. She know that they will die soon.
She didn't say that.
I said,
Jay, you're a bad translator.
no, she said they will not last long and all that.
Yeah, she says it's difficult to expect groups to last. Yes.
Yeah. And so what's the difference between they go and die soon and
It's different. It's different.
Is that
they will grow. They will have different contact, different connection, and then the different connection will make the concentration on the other part, and they want to grow in a different area. So the group will very quick and break down. So that's why I do many independent ones instead of making groups. But I can partner with many different groups.
yes, you did mention that the person you're working with, they do changes. But my questions to you, may I ask you, or are you finished?
Yes.
My question to you is that, are you not interested to bring your working with a group to a more advanced level, to a more critical level? Because if you work with all these groups, they only reach to a certain level where they attain some objective, then they are happy. But how do they work further to change themselves, or to work changing, making more deeper change in the society? Are you interested in this kind of work?
But I never tried before. 可以試㗎。
She says she can try.
Oh, she says she can try.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, trying by forcing them to discuss uncomfortable issue?
有㗎。Actually, I did talk about uncomfortable issue with some 單身媽咪係咩啊？single mother or some suddenly disabled people's cases, and some artists how to say some artists their story about their family or with their work, with the employer, with the
Yes, can. Yes, we can hear you, Irene.
Oh, okay. So I can try. If Jay you want me to try, I can take some cases in Hong Kong and try to work with some artists on it. I will try anything anyone suggests, but I just will fine tune many process. I don't want to have this expected ending or expected result. 我要講英文添，唔好意思，聽唔聽得明？
It's good. It's good that you're speaking English.
I'm so sorry. I did not speak very long ago. I often have my meeting when I'm young. My tongue is not works functionally.
So my follow-up question.
Okay.
Because when you work critically with a group, they will need small support. For example, this single mother, if they want to create a support group, that means they will get together with other single mothers and also with people who are willing to support them over a period of time, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. So will you, for example, you have some resources, you have a lot of connection, you get a lot of resources, and will you like take these resources and target this group that need more sustainability, more support, and give less resources to the other work on the street, which everyone from the Kaifong, when they walk over, they can get. Will you channel some of the resources from those who are not targeted to those who are targeted and structured?
呢個冇問佢想點。
我講普話冇。
你呢個唔有拉尾嗰段唔係好明。
拉尾嗰個先，你唔好俾咁多啲嘢俾嗰啲平常街坊啦，你攞多啲嘢俾啲有 target 嘅啦。
我有㗎，我平時係有㗎。
係啦，但係你而家分派係冇一樣㗎嘛？
唔係啊。
Now you distribute your resource, you distribute equally, right?
No, I
target
some different occasion. Like in Christmas, I will target on family, but in like COVID-19 distribution of resources like the also cleaning detergent, I will give to homeless person and the one doing the toilet cleaner in a public toilet and some
public cleaner, yeah, public cleaner.
And some grandma or grandpa, because they may not know the quality of the mask they are having, is it good enough? So I give the high quality one to them.
But this group that you are now, you say you are distributing your resources are divided into
many different. Depends on
the
resources on hand and the funders or the objective of the funder. If the funder give me like few $1,000s and they want to target some groups to distribute the resources, I will follow the funder, the one donate the money to me, and they did not have the target groups, and I will talk with them, discuss with them if they wish to have some target group. Not, I usually have to go to the grassroots groups.
Yeah, but that was not my question. My question is that, for example, this single
I
mother
think also,
group.
sorry, I think Irene has become.
This single mother group, they need support over a long time, because single mother stay single mother over a few years, not just a few months, or not just Christmas. They need something. So the single mother need support, let's say over 2-3 years, because the children are young, very young. And will you ask your funder, or will you try to negotiate and support a group that work on a very concrete goal, like they want to support this single mother until the kids are ready to go to school, for example? So when the kids are young, they need more support. So it's over a few years. Can you distribute? Will you think you can help this type of structured and targeted group? Very different from what you say about Christmas, New Year, and all that, or someone who target, or it's very different.
I have got a funder, a lady from England, from Britain. She wished to support a long-term program or campaign. I wish to start up, and I think I can talk with her about this single mother groups resources support for few years program. Let's see if she hire me positively. Yeah, and I will let you know. If you
Thank
think
you,
program,
Eileen.
okay, it's okay. I thought even I hear about last time I hear about Kang, about his book sharing corner in Malaysia. I have think about solutions helping to make his book sharing corner share with him some idea of how I work in how and share some resources with him.
So there's a question from Eileen. Eileen, are you addressing it to a particular person? The question is, the resilience or diversity strategy, is it to have a broad range of funders with different advocacies or interests? Eileen, are you addressing this to Irene? Yeah, okay, Irene. So this is a question from Eileen. 去問你，咁你嘅 strategy to be resilient，同埋 diverse，即係話多方向，係咪需要有一個broad range of funders？點講啊？
係啊，
即係話有唔同嘅。
而家我而家做咗嗰啲嘢出嚟咧，係有感染到一啲人嘅。咁而感染到嗰啲人咧，就有啲係用 resources 去 support 我，有啲用金錢上去 support我。但係其實個銀碼都唔係太大嘅，但係真係有唔同嘅方向嘅，就有唔同嘅人去 support 嘅，呢個係真嘅。
So in the work that she does, she has managed to infect people. And this is in Cantonese to say infect. So that means actually activate people to become interested in the work. And some of them give time and some of them give some money, but it's not a big amount. But yes, she does work with a broad range of people. And Kang had said, yes, she also used her own living space as an art space to reduce expense. Yes, yeah. So can I come back to this thing? What Jay and Irene were discussing just now. It seems to me that in a way, also as artists, we ourselves cannot avoid bringing in our own value judgment. To think that, okay, single mothers deserve more or need more, you know, than another community, for example. You know, and so it comes to the question that, for example, the people you're working with, they may not feel they need critical dialogue. They may not want critical dialogue. They don't feel that they need to question themselves, but you feel that they need to. So then what happens? You know, do we bring our own, do we impose our own and encourage them? Hey, I encourage you to have a critical dialogue. Come, let's have critical, but they don't feel the need to, you know? That's not what they want from their life. So,
yeah. If you talk about just now, that single mother example was just an example. If you have 2 or 3 groups, of course, you help the group that are more hardworking, who are willing to change. So the chances of them changing or building something concrete is more realistic than a group that maybe only meet once every month. So it's not just the artist choosing. The artists also have to make a decision which group need the most, more to live because their human life is at stake, because small children are at stake, or also success. Will they have success? For example, I discussed this with Irene. Now I also discuss this with Kang, since both of them use books and all that. Putting a library out there, a lot of artists everywhere in the world do that. Some artists just put a library at a street corner. Some artists build a library at a phone book and ask the community to come and take a book and all that. But how does that respond to the decolonial turn? Because if you look at the English books, all the books are mostly written in the West. Now we know that all these texts, all these books are actually creating a lot of problems because they influence the people. They influence the people in some way that. So how do you go into another level that is not just reading a book, but do you have the ability to dissect this book, dissect the contents, whether what this book say, can it apply to here in Hong Kong, or can it apply to in Malaysia, Johor? If that book is just written by some guy, written in England, so what's the point? So we now realize this knowledge, this decolonial knowledge, that books at first become very important, but it's actually create also a lot of problem. We are recognizing that now in the decolonial term, in education, in archive. That's why they are destroying. They are not only destroying books, they destroy the university because the university named after a founder in the West who are slave driver, imperialist. So this is how, if they can now change the name of the university, then slowly they are trying to change the people who are teaching it. And after they change the people who are teaching it, they change the books that are teaching it. So these are the problems with books. So how far can you go in being critical with the books? How far are you going to push the people in your community that the books are not, all books are not the same?
Jen, who you prefer, like who is they?
Look at the books you have, all the English books you have.
Okay.
How many % of these English books are written by the West? They are not written by someone who know about South Asia, who live in South Asia, but they are all in the West. So their ideas create a lot of imagination. Can these ideas we apply. Now, you ask about concrete, who are they? These are the Black Lives Matter. Yeah? So they are tearing down all these university statues that are connected to slaves and modernist thinking and all that. So the colonial turn is where this Black Lives Matter come from. So how many of your books are written by a non-white person that you follow? So these are the big problem with books. But still a lot of people think books is good, and I believe that. My whole 30, 40 years of my life, my hope was in books. I read a lot of books, and until I realized only 50 years later that a lot of problem with it. So things are changing very fast now.
So like when you talk about like this, it's remind me recent situation in what's happening in Burmese and ethnic people in Myanmar now. So because now there's no university, all the school is closed, all the like a state school is closed. Now there's like a virtual university on the Facebook. They are start talking about that because most of the book that this very similar case from my understanding. Most of our school book written by Burmese language, so it's really a very dominate history and very dominate. If you can speak Burmese, you are good at in school. If you are ethnic people, you know, like it's for you to follow what they are writing because of you need to translate in your mind. So that it's happened a lot, you know, very similar concept, you know, what happening in Myanmar as well, what's happening in war. So now we are really learning about our real history, our real, you know, who we really are.
Yes, it's true.
Now it's like it's also the very good opportunity if someone can do or someone can create or someone can see from the in government center. This is a very good opportunity to rewrite the history.
Yeah.
To like you know, like there's a very intent of Myanmar, you know, like there's a very good opportunity to restart again.
Yeah, that's why sometimes the reality also force you because there are no other books in your language or
That's
no
true.
books written by a writer who understand the part of your part of the society country. So it's okay if you read this book, but you rewrite it yourself. That means the student come together with intellectual and rewrite that book, rewrite in the local language in NA. For example, this event, if an organizer is from the West, they will demand that we have a budget for translation, Mandarin, translation of Cantonese. This won't happen if the organizer of this event is come from the West. They will want someone to have, but we don't have the funding for the translation. We have to do it ourselves. And for me, any language is important, and we try to understand each other. Translation don't have to be 100% correct. And that I learned in Myanmar. All translation are never 100% correct. It's always translated that fit the local thinking, what they think is nice to the ear. Yeah? So we learn from it. So actually, the NA people get together and rewrite the book. What is not accepted, we rewrite it, and what is that? And that is the best education because you produce your own knowledge. That's the best education, I think. You no need to study all those principles from the West and all that. The best education is to translate knowledge that fit your own society, that you are proud of.
Can I bring, because it's 5 o'clock now, can I bring the conversation back to you know, the series on the whole. Jay, you initiated this series, and I think that you do hope for there to be a follow-up, you know, after this event, that there's some kind of a connection or structure that can be set up. And I had a short text exchange with Dominique, and Dominique was telling me that the reason why, sorry, what's the name of the project, Dominique, that you set this up was because of mapping, right? Mapping this kind of social, innovative projects that you feel is necessary to make them visible. And I was saying that, you know, also that we do need some sort of alliance might be good, where we can keep in touch with each other and also, you know, fall back on each other if we need some kind of support or advice, you know, or kind of exchange. Dominique, would you like to say a little bit about that?
You are addressing the
your presentation, and then we had a short text exchange.
Yeah. So, you know, I think we address so many critical questions. I mean, it's localities. All our localities are different, but we work with similar tools, but we do have different modes. We're wearing different hats. And Che, you posed the question of actually how can we, I understood the question, how can we join energies despite all the differences and tools, the situation, etc. So actually, I think there's so much knowledge there, so many interesting projects that have been done for decades. And what is missing from my perspective is like a Wikipedia or a tool base where we can learn from each other. Actually, Che, you addressed that all over the world, people are working with books or libraries, etc. I think with all our strategies, these are done worldwide. This is good, no? Because we don't want to be unique in what we do. We want to make a change. And we need a lot of people to make a change so that we move towards a future that we would like to imagine, and the we is very different, no? And the future we want is also under discussion. So I don't want to go into this sidetrack. So I think it's just, how could we do this, you know? Like sort of like on a toolbox level, to just get to know, would that be of interest for you? I mean, that's the first question, that we sort of would start something like this. So what is this? That's why I started with this mapping culture. I thought I'm trying out in small, just trying to make a platform where a lot of different projects become visible and where one sees how is doing what in what ways. Already the financial question is an important question. So how does one organize that one can do it? How is finances organized? Is it through membership? Is it through funding structures, etc., etc.? So then not everyone has to invent similar strategies from the start up, but one can look like in a cookbook and see where what is working well and connect and try out as well. So I'm curious to hear. I mean, I would be happy to do something like that. I think for that we need to be a group of people to bring together enough information.
Eileen has posted something in the chat box. Yeah, I think that Dominique has an online platform, Eileen.
Okay.
But what do you collect, Dominique? Do you collect field notes? What do you collect from the different projects that you?
When you know, I started to research a bit, like what kind of platform could we use, and then of course, and how did they get Wikipedia started, etc. And then I mean, it's all a lot of work. It's big thing also, and how do you again, the question, how do you finance, etc. So that's, then I thought I'm using this app, Clio, for to do this community now, and I sort of test out if it will work and what can be done with it. It's sort of like the question, so this is the first question, like where do we comprise the information so that it's accessible, and what kind of dynamic do we want? I think there are a lot of this sort of pre-decisions that would be nice to discuss within the group and make it happen. So for me now, just to try it out in small, I'm just simply using an app. And now we make calls where we ask all these initiatives to make us aware of the project. So this runs from people organizing a farm through membership, co-working, producing vegetable, etc., to all different kinds of civic engaged attitudes. We don't say what we want to integrate. We hand out the call and we see what comes back to us. And at the moment we make it visible, and then we start a discussion on that with you. We make video portraits, we try to bring it into the newspapers, local events, etc. So it's rolling planning, trying to make it a discussion point. But for me, it's more like in small a testing site. Also, what we.
Dominique, where do you put out the call, or do you directly do mailing to contact people?
So this now is in connection to what I've been explaining, that project. So it's the Limmat Valley. It's close to Zurich. And what we do, we've got it on our webpage. All cultural associations, we connect to them. And we have it part of their newsletters, and I also do mouth by mouth and direct contacting.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps you could leave the link for us to access your web page.
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, it's the call is now only on our art and society.net. The community platform with the app will be launched in autumn, and yeah, then it goes on. But this is sort of regional. It's only the Limmat Valley where we try to make visible all the different activities that are on there. Of course, everything is in German, which is actually not our mother tongue. We talk Swiss German and a lot of different languages, because the valley that I'm focusing on, there are 78 nationalities living there. So actually,
yeah. I think maybe we can think about how to set up a platform where we can keep in touch with each other. You know, whether Latt is a good way to keep in touch, because not all of us log in often to check on the messages. Yeah, but just a note, Dominique, from what I understood from what Jay was saying about the exchange of books, I think he's not saying that it's a bad thing that so many people are doing it, but because knowledge itself is written from such unquestioned authorship sometimes, you know, and you don't know what sort of biases the author has when they write. So, you know, if we are not having a critical or questioning attitude towards the books that we read, sometimes the information that we get, you know, we just absorb, and it may be misleading, you know. That's it. Yeah.
I got that.
But that just brings back to my question: if the person doesn't feel they need to question, then how do we tell them that they need to question? You know, that's always my question. As an artist, how do I impose on someone else that, you know, you should not believe everything you read? You know, you should not believe everything that people tell you. So unless they themselves feel the need to question, they've arrived at some point in their own journey, you know, where they're searching themselves, then I feel that it's easier to go into that conversation, or certain situations that bring this kind of conflict up, and then, you know, we can make use of that to discuss. Yeah.
Susie, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I want to say, according to the books sure, there are so many books in the world, and there are so many good books in the world, as well as there are many, many bad books in the world. And if we if we distribute books on whatever way, we have a subjective choice, I think. There are always publishers. You can see it from the publishers, you can see it from the authors. So if you make it as your idea to offer books to people, I, for myself, would look what book is it before I give it away, you know. I think, of course, this is very subjective, but this is the only way to do it. And then on a broader level, I think it is very difficult to judge, because books are written in a special historic environment. And if I read, for example, Robert Louis Stevenson, let's just say this, of course, he is a colonialist. It is we can say it as a colonial literature, but at the same time there is thinking according to a certain time and history that we can acknowledge. This is also about learning, but of course it is on a much higher level to do that. So it is really difficult with books, but I think to have a wide range of books around is always gives it's a present to the world, because every book kind of represents a world and an opinion, and is a big impact on democracy. Yes, this is what I wanted to say according to books.
I think we need to wrap up the discussion. Is there anything that anyone would like to add? Kang would like to say something, yes.
Do we have enough time? If
yes,
not,
yes,
it's
yes,
okay.
we have. Yeah.
Okay. 我也想回应一下关于那个书本的部分。其实我书本的分享比较纯粹，我不会一下子跳到那个去殖民，就是 decolonize 的那个目标去。我最主要是收集一些人家不要的，然后我把它重新的去分享出去，然后最主要的目的其实是制造一个对话的机会。不管那些是好书不好的书，首先我们会有一个跟人家接触，然后跟他们对话的机会。然后顺便我可能也回应。
Sorry, I translate first. So Kang is saying that his approach now to collecting books is not that he will curate or judge, you know, which ones to share, but basically he's collecting books that people want to give away. And most important thing for him is actually this creates an opportunity for a dialogue. So it's an opening that it creates, you know, by exchanging books. Yes, Kang?
是，所以我不会很快的跳到那个decolonize 的或者去殖民知识的那个目的。然后同时我可以顺便回应一下 critical thinking 的那个部分，包括你提出来的，就是还有 J 提出来的。通常我觉得有很多不同的方法去讨论问题，就像 Nora 刚刚讲到的很多问题，其实我都有很多的同感，包括了可能我们接触的对象里面有一些是很保守的社群，可能有一些外劳，可是他们同时也带有很强烈的性别歧视，或者是一些在政治上可能被边缘化的人，可是他们同时又是歧视一些LGBT， 特别这些性向族群都有。可是我的方法，我觉得激起很激烈讨论 critical thinking 是 yes。
Stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Translation.
Sorry, sorry. He's not moving to the stage of trying to bring about a decolonized thinking at the moment. But he thinks that there's many ways to discuss anything. So amongst the people whom he get connected to, there might be very conservative people, or there might be even migrant workers who themselves are very educated and so have a strong knowledge base. And then, sorry, Kang.
They might also have some discriminate on certain group. They may have gender bias, or they may also discriminate LGBTQ group.
So there are some people who may be very biased and have discrimination against LGBT.
I can feel Nora what she said just now. 可是我要讲的是，我的方法不会像你提到或者 J 提到的那样，就是强迫他们一定要有一个 discussion， 而且是一个很 critical thinking 的 discussion。因为我自己的经验，我发现这样的方法通常没有很有效。然后我自己觉得比较有效的方法是，我会把一个，比如我的一个 gay 的朋友带来给他们看，这个就是我的朋友，或者我会带一个migrant workers 给他们看，这个就是我的朋友。然后在长期的相处之中，他们会对我有一种信任。然后我觉得那个接受不是通过一个很强烈的讨论或者一个很激烈的一个对话而得出来的，而是通过很长期的接触，他们信任你，然后他们觉得他们可以慢慢的接受一个他们原本不接受的一个事情。
So he himself would not force or even actively try to initiate critical discussion, but his way of doing things, because he finds that that usually doesn't work. So his way of doing things is that he would bring a third party into the circle. So he's interacting with these people and he brings a third party in, for example, Jay, or for example, a foreign worker, bringing into that community and introducing them to different, but how do you introduce? Because just by that person being there, how do this community then get in touch with different ideas,
Normally, I will write about their story. Like maybe I have a gay friend or I have a lesbian friend. Then I will bring him into the bring her to my place and then introduce to others and tell their stories. This is normally how I did things.
So gradually through time, Kang feels that through this exposure and not through, direct conversation, that certain new understandings and opening up forms.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap up soon. I think we should carry on this conversation. So can each of you give a feedback? When do you want to have the next session? In 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, or 4 weeks' time? How would you want to commit your time to have a further discussion?
Maybe we can also ask for each of you what you would like to discuss. What topics that you would like.
What you like to discuss.
Yeah.
And how much time you have. Because also I'm preparing the next one in 3-4 months time under the same macro title, but it's on ecosystem. It's about special response to climate emergency. So I will get new speaker who talk about this, but they will join you also because they will become in a larger group and see which of you will join. But in the next 1-2 months, we can organize a regular session to discuss. And I feel that the dialogue is always good. It's always good, but if you only present a dialogue, you are only presenting the basic level. So you don't enforce this to anyone, you know, but why don't we give them a choice? They say, if you read this book, there is a basic step, you can go further. But after this basic step, there's 2 or 3 more steps. For example, you understand where this writer comes from. Does this writer really want to engage with you? Because I found out some writer actually doesn't want to engage with individual. They just want to engage with people who are in the politics, making policy. They don't want to engage with normal people. You can buy my books, but I don't want to engage with you. Even educators do that. Adorno is one of them from the Frankfurt School. He doesn't want to engage with you, okay? He only want to engage with the German politics at the highest level. And he tell that to his own student in the university. When his own student come and try to engage with Adorno about the policy that he thought about. So we need to go on to understand all this. Who are these writers, where they come from, what is actually their thinking, and how, you know? So please give your closing statement and then give a feedback. We can use the platform, the chat group and all that to discuss this further.
Yeah. So Eileen has a question for Kang. Do you do reading groups, Kang?
No, so far not yet. 不过我会用一些书本，就是送给一些外籍配偶。有时候一些书本对于一些初学者，他可以学习一些 vocab， 就是学习一些新的词汇、一些新的语法。对于他们来讲，可能那个不是学习里面的 content， 就只是学习它的一些句式语法。然后其实我这边的书多数是中文书，然后当然也有一些英文书和马来文书，数量都比较少。
So he doesn't do reading groups, but he does send some books over, you know, to his participants in order to help them learn a language, especially. Yeah, Kang. And
yes.
Most of his books are Chinese books with some English and Malay books. But primarily now your circle of it's really to learn also Malay language, right? The activities that you're doing is also to teach about language. Yeah. Okay, so we're running out of time.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Eileen's remark is that, yeah, you do choose because you're choosing which book to send to whom. Yeah. Okay, I really enjoyed the discussions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see each other again next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.